So I essentially now help people optimize their identity for peak performance so they can make shift happen. Maybe you really shouldn't believe in yourself. I'm sorry, but let's be honest, right? Maybe you should believe in your ability to try to do something. And then when you accomplish it and you have proof, now I can believe in myself.
Hello, my name is Aaron Wexler, and welcome to another episode of Within the Game. Let's go, man. Within the Game is all about how to treat your craft and your life like a game so you can stay inspired, have more fun, and ultimately find fulfillment both in and out of your game. And thank you to the fans and listeners of the show. If you'd like to support the show, a great way to do that is to grab a copy of my book, The Inspired Athlete, which is all about my personal growth, spiritual, and athletic journeys all combined into one. I really think it could help a lot of people out there. Also, if you could give the channel a like, subscribe, all those things really do help out. And please support my guests too. Today's guest, I'm really excited about this one, is the one and only Anthony Trucks. Anthony, thanks so much for being here, man.
Oh, thank you for having me, man. Looking forward to a good conversation to see where it goes and hopefully give something good to the world.
Yeah, absolutely. So Anthony's an international motivational speaker, author, former NFL athlete, American Ninja Warrior on NBC, host of the Shift podcast, author of the Identity Shift book, and the founder of the Identity Shift coaching program. And your mission is to help people how to make shift happen in their lives. I really love that. IG is at Anthony Trucks. Great YouTube channel at Anthony Trucks 1, website anthonytrucks.com. I really appreciate you being here. And, you know, the first question I like to start all my episodes with is this idea of inspired living. What does that mean to you? The idea of inspired living.
Inspired living, man. I think it's just an approach to the day, you know, an approach that you do things. Because I look at life as a choice. Every day I have a choice of how I show up, what I do, how I speak, how I talk. And I think to be active in that in process is kind of an important thing that everybody's active in. So people get up and they just walk through life. They go into a fog, the days just roll by. Whereas when I hear inspired living, it goes, I'm actively choosing to live in a way that is either inspiring to other people, which actually gives me the feeling of inspiration, or I'm actively choosing ways to be inspired myself so I live from that space. Because if you bring that energy to moments, no matter what the moment is, there's a better chance of it being a better moment. But if you come into life with this kind of like ho-hum, it's like it's not an accident as to why life isn't great. So I think inspired living means I'm actively choosing to be the most I can each day.
Let's go, man. Right? Enthusiasm, right? That's kind of what I get from that answer. And I love that, man. And your story is super inspiring. I'd love for you to share your story. But before you do, you know, as a former pro athlete, you know, and kind of the theme of what I'm all about is this idea of the inspired athlete. So I would love to hear your definition of that. What does the inspired athlete mean to you?
It's a good one, you know, because who I am now is not who I was when I played, you know. It's not a bad thing. It's just so I'm an identity guy, and I talk about that in my work, and a lot of it's anchored to that. And so I do know that there are different expressions of who you are in different phases and places in life, right? So the way I express myself here is different than how I express myself on the football field as a player, as a coach, as a dad, as a husband, right? And so the way that I look at an inspired athlete is it's activating that part of you that needs to play at its absolute best, aggression-wise, attention to detail, no matter what it may be. But you do it from a place of, and this is for me as a faith thing, it's like I want to make sure that I'm doing the most I can with what I've given. You know, and so when I'm playing inspired, I want to make sure I leave it all out there, because at some point it will leave. It will leave your life. The game will end. It ended for me, right? And when it does, you want to make sure you look back on those moments and go, yep, you know what? I'm empty. I gave it what I had to give. And every day, every practice, everything, I gave it all. And so I think that inspired athletes, one that's inspired to do their best every time they have an opportunity, keyword opportunity, to do their thing, whether it's practice or play.
Wow. Yes, bro. Yes. And do you think everyone has the capability to tap into that energy?
Oh, yeah. You do. You have to get out of your own way, though. You know what's funny, though? I've noticed that a lot of people, if they don't do that, there's a fear around doing it because of how people will point out the fact they didn't used to do it. But don't settle in for a second. Because the reality is, like, a lot of us have it in there. I coach my son's youth football team. They're 14-year-old kids. And a lot of them they're just not dogs. This generation is soft, and it's crazy to me. Yeah, but I look at some of these kids and I go, some of them flip it on a little bit in the game. And I go, we got to practice like that. And some don't know how. And I go, all of you, have you ever been mad enough to yell? And every kid raises their hand. I go, we need that person to come out. And I go, I think I know what's going on. I think part of it is you're worried that if you come out and all of a sudden just go crazy, let that part out, that someone's going to point at you and go, why are you acting like that all of a sudden? Right? That fear, that judgment of like, well, all of a sudden you're just being this crazy athlete. And I go, but I'm telling you guys right now, you need to do that. And if somebody points it out, that's not your teammate. And let me know, because I'll say something, right? And so the idea is whenever you come and you let that part of you out, you tap into something deeper, something grander. So everybody has the capability, but I think some people, they're apprehensive to show it to the world.
Wow. Yeah, bro. That's really cool. I love speaking with professional athletes or, former professional athletes who have done the work. And I hear you talk a lot about, crossing finish lines, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're in podcasts, and different, different shows that you're on and things. I would love for you to share a little bit of your story with my audience, and you could start from the beginning, the whole idea of going through foster care and being adopted and wherever you want to go with that, but like kind of set it up for the audience so that we can really talk about, how you are who you are today from where you were.
Yeah. I think all of us, interestingly, have this journey. It's our own journey. It's
Yeah.
who we are today, and we'll call it identity level. It's based on wiring neurologically and psychologically. All of us, if I asked, hey, who are you? Each state something. And it's from you having been wired through life. And the way we get wired is just experiences, what you go through, whether you did it intentionally and you push yourself towards a goal, or everything fell apart, you had to find a way to survive. Those experiences wired you to see certain things, hear certain ways, whatever it is, perceive, optimize, whatever it is. So I put that as a precursor. As I tell you guys, my life, it's my experience that has then wired me to be who I am. And if I want more in life, it's going to take more experiences to wire me for more.
Mm-hmm.
But I was a kid, 3 years old. Mom didn't want me or my 3 siblings, so she gave us away to the foster care system. Pretty heinous. It wasn't a very, transparent world back then. It was in 1986. It's just there's nothing going on. Nobody knows what's going on behind closed doors. And eventually bounced around to 6 different houses, I want to say. Landed at 6 years old in the family. It's my family now. I was in that family for 8 years before I finally got adopted. So 11 years in the system. I was able to beat the odds of, now in my life, the 75% of inmates in prisons are former foster kids, half our homeless population, less than 1% of us graduate from college. So statistically, I wasn't supposed to do well. And I beat a lot of cool odds. The reason is because an adoptive mom was awesome. And I went through this journey of like navigating myself and tried football, was bad at football. And I had to figure out how to get back on the horse at some point and try to give my all to it and express myself in a way that was unnatural, wasn't normal to me, but became a great athlete, both athletically, but also mentally. And that was the game changer. I had this guttural sense of desire to dominate somebody. And so when I exploded on the field and started doing that, great things happened. Cheers, amazing. I get a college scholarship to go play football at the University of Oregon. Go up there, play football, meet my biological dad, have my son my sophomore year at my high school sweetheart. She came up to school with me. 2 years, 3 years later-ish, I went to had an opportunity to play in the NFL, got with the Buccaneers and Redskins and the Steelers. NFL stands for not for long. So I got in, got hurt, tore my shoulder, came out. Life fell apart. Didn't know who I was without the game of football. And if you've ever woke up one day and you couldn't do what you used to do for years, months, whatever it is, you question who you are. And I had that question. I had no answer. And so I tried to fill my life with things that weren't good for me. Ended up divorced. My wife and I had 3 kids. It was the custody battles, the craziness. After 3 years of divorce, my mom passed away. And I kind of had this moment of like, I got to wake up and figure my life out because she's the reason I wasn't a statistic and I wasn't living up to what she had allowed me to become as a man. And in doing so, it put me back into a position of like, I got to go back and do this better work on me. And I did. And then remarried my ex-wife. We have an amazing marriage. We have 3 kids. My kids do amazing things. I have this great business where I travel and teach what I call the dark work, which is about the work in the dark to win in the light. That is where you do those things that are experiences that wire you for more. And so I essentially now help people optimize their identity for peak performance so they can make shift happen.
Wow, bro. I love all that. Thank you so much for sharing. There's so much to unpack there. I want to actually ask you about the practice that you had for the Steelers. I heard you talk about that on another podcast. I was hoping you could share that story real quick with the audience here.
Yeah, my first practice.
Yeah, well, you got called to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers tryout, and then you got right into a practice.
That's
right?
A crazy one. Well, yeah, what they do is they bring you out every Tuesday in the NFL is an off day, so they fly guys out based on what's on the docket. And if you get signed off the practice squad, you can go and get picked up somewhere. If you get signed midway, they take it to the team. And so there's a guy who was supposed to go Because if Monday you didn't get a call, you didn't go anywhere Tuesday, and you prepared for the next week. And on Tuesday, you just beat your body up. So physically, you were prepared for it. So if you don't get a call by Monday, you ain't going anywhere till the next week. And so Tuesday comes up, didn't get a call. And I go do a crazy workout. And then I get out of the shower like at 4-ish, something like that o'clock. And I got like 7 missed calls. And 6 are numbers from 412 area code. I don't know. Happens to find out later. It's Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And one, my agent, like 2 maybe for my agent. So I call like, Craig, what's going on? All the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm going to fly out for a workout. Oh, Craig, man, it's Tuesday. I just beat my body up. He goes, do you want an effing job? I go, yeah, I want a job. Get in a plane. So I got in a plane. I landed in Pennsylvania like 6 in the morning, which was East Coast. I'm from California. So 3 in the morning, my body's all beat up. I get in the car. One of the guys from the Steelers says, hey, there's 2 of you guys out here. One of you staying, one of you's going home. Now, the way it worked out was the guy that they wanted to actually come out, he got signed last minute. So there was no other guys. They needed me. I was the next guy on their list to go look at. So sure enough, I get, brought out there, and there's me and this guy going to do our workout. And the guy that was there was well rested. He came out of the hotel, rested, good to go. Happened to be my roommate from the 2006 NFL Combine, who was drafted in the 5th round. Dude's a monster, bigger, faster, stronger than me. Numerically, he was. And so he walks out of the hotel all rested. I'm half asleep. He gets in the car. Guy tells him, hey, 2 of you are here. One of you staying, one of you's going home. The guy looks in the back seat, gives a little giggle, and I go, damn, like he already thinks he got it. And in my head, I'm like, he does. I'm beat up. I can't do this. So we go around from hospital to hospital, checking out your body, because you have to make sure you're physically able to be signed. So if they keep you, you can practice, right? You got to be cleared physically. Did all that stuff. I'm falling asleep in the lobbies. I go in the MRI tube. I'm falling asleep and shaking. They got to restart the damn thing, So eventually we get back to the facility 6 hours later. Well, from when I landed, it's probably like 5 hours floating around. And the guy goes, hey, just your stuff, equipment's here, but the workout starts in 20 minutes. So in this moment, I'm sitting there going like, I don't got this. Like everybody would be like, this sucks. There's no way I can do this. But in that moment, like something snaps. I think God threw a little idea in my head, and he goes, hey, of thousands of people that could have been chosen to be here, you were chosen. And I think all of us fail to comprehend the moments in life when we've been chosen to be there, and we tell ourselves we can't do it. We beat ourselves up. We are our own worst enemies in our own minds, and we don't actually lean into situations. So what happens is we end up letting these great opportunities bypass us. And I'm thankful in this moment, something woke me up. I go, gosh, like I got to be great for 20 minutes. I just need to be great for 20 minutes. And so I went out to the field and I just gave everything. I'm talking whatever was left in me from what I not, beat up in the weight room and running around, like I gave it all. And so we walk back and we get in the showers, and I come out of the shower and I can't wait to go take a nap, tell my wife that, I'm coming home because there's no way I got signed. This guy's bigger, faster, stronger. And I walk out, guy stops me and goes, hey, Trucks, I need you to get dressed. We're taking you upstairs. We're going to sign you. I was elated. I'm like, this is amazing. I get, signed. I go upstairs, meet Coach Mike Tomlin, meet the general manager, go down and get my equipment, go to the locker. I can't wait to take a nap and call it a day, get to the hotel. Guy walks up to the equipment room and goes, here's your helmet, shoulder pads, everything. Goes, hey, just, you got to get dressed. Practice starts in an hour. Because Wednesday practice. Dang. And it was like this thing of like, holy crap. I remember I went into practice and there's a guy named Chris Kimoyatu, number 68. He, I think when legit was like 6'4", like 350. Dude was a Samoan house. And there was a play where I had to go in and hit him. And I go in full speed and go and hit him. And I come out full speed under his power, just the dude threw me out. I don't know, just half asleep, doing whatever it was one of those things where like you realize that life's going to present you with a bunch of moments. And even when you've accomplished it, life asks for more. And your job is to show up and give what you got. And oddly, you oftentimes have way more in you than you thought you had.
Wow. Dude, I love that story, man, because you were ready, you were ready for that moment. And,
well, I don't think I was. I think I wasn't. It's crazy. I don't think I was ready in a psychological manner, but God knew I was ready. There was more in me than I thought I had. So I was more ready than I thought I was, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Like deep down inside you, maybe you didn't feel ready, but you were prepared for that moment. That's kind of what I meant, and,
yes, sure.
And I think that's relatable to a lot of people, right? Like just you never know what kind of opportunities are going to come. You never know when that phone call might come, but if you constantly, in athletics, you always hear this term, stay ready, right?
Yeah.
Stay ready. So you never have to get ready kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that's really relatable in moments like that. But I just love that story, man, because like, talk about a dream for a a football player, right? Getting to the NFL. I mean, that's a beautiful thing, man. And
Yeah.
then, you know, talk a little bit more about like any inspirational stories that come to mind from the the overall NFL experience. It could be other players, coaches,
Uh,
experiences.
there's a whole lot of them, man. The ones that are usually the good ones are the ones that they start with trash and it sucks. So there's one that I don't tell often. But so when I came, my rookie year, I came out, I got signed by the Buccaneers. Coach
Yeah.
John Gruden was the coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I got there and I was like, a free agent guy coming in, trying to fight for a job. And the D coordinator, actually the linebacker coach liked me. D coordinator's got a Monty Kiffin, old school, like Hall of Fame defensive coordinator. Dude's a beast. And so I remember getting there and I had this situation where like the special teams coach was an asshole. He didn't like anybody. He didn't like anybody new. And he let you know. He's still out there doing his thing too. I see him around the league every once in a while on TV and I go, nah. And I get it. It's his job. He's got to do it. Hey, no ill will there at all. But he was adamant. He's like, you got to be a mother effing dog to be one of my guys, like this thing. And he wasn't letting you try. Like it was just this thing, right? So discomfort in special teams. I didn't know what I was doing because I didn't go to training camp or the OTAs before to learn to play. So I'm just in a training camp, and I don't got an understanding of the playbook. I don't know what's going on. I'm asking teammates how the plays are supposed to be run, and they're giving me the wrong answers on purpose, so I would look stupid. So they don't do their job to me. So you got no teammates and no support system there. You got no coaches that are really supporting you, except for like your position coach, and even he's can only do so much to support and elevate you. You got to know your damn playbook. I'm in Florida. It's hot as hell. Literally, maybe. Like we had to stop midway through practice to go into a cooling chamber so our bodies wouldn't overheat. One day I lost 13 pounds in practice from sweat, just from sweat, because you weigh before and after, just sweat. So I'm physically uncomfortable. I'm also 3 hours ahead of my family, so I can't call them. By the time I get up and go to practice, they're still sleeping, right? It's 5 a.m. if it's 8 o'clock to me. And then I get out of practice, right? And so my wife, she's back home doing stuff with the kids. So I get out of practice maybe like 2. It's like 11 o'clock, and the kids are in school. She's doing lunch stuff. By the time I can talk to her, like my nighttime, it's like, shoot, 6, 7, if that's the case. She's still doing stuff with the kids from school. Like I couldn't even talk to her. So I'm like, gosh, I'm on an island out here. And I legitimately one day, midway through camp, I'm like, I don't want to do this no more. I'm done with this. I'm dead serious. I go, I'm done with this game. And it's 4 weeks of camp-ish. So I'm like, I'm not doing this no more. I'm done. So I remember I go downstairs and I there's like a little area in the side of this. It was this hotel in Celebration, Florida, in Orlando. It's where the Buccaneers held training camp. So I remember I go downstairs and I go at this corner. I come down and I'm about 30 feet from the room where I can see all the coaches meeting, doing a thing. And I'm going to walk in there and be like, hey, coaches, I'm out of here. Just letting you know I'm done. That's what I'm about to do. I kid you not, 1,000%. I turn the corner and I stop for a second and I'm looking at him. And I don't even know why I stopped. Out of nowhere, this guy named Eric Vance comes walking by. Hey, Trucks, what are you doing? Now, Eric Vance is a player personnel guy. His job is to make sure guys like me are taken care of. And I go, I'm going home, Eric. He goes, what do you mean you're going home? I go, I'm going home. He goes, just come sit down for a little bit. So he goes sit down. He goes, what's going on? I tell him my story. I also this time had this dog tag of a picture of my son that had been on my neck the whole time since I was in college. And it was like a little Figaro chain, a little picture of my son etched into it. I'd lost it. So I was like, I felt bad. I lost this, and I had this connection to my son, and he wasn't there. And I tell him the whole story. He goes, when you look in the future, and let's say it's, I don't know, 15 years from now, and you start telling your son to work his hardest, go after his dream, and he knows you quit, what are you going to say to him? I go, she's like, I don't know. And he goes, I told him most of what I've told you story-wise. He goes, you got through a lot, son. He's like, you got through a lot of different things of life. He says, you're supposed to be here. I don't know if you know that, but like, you're supposed to be here. Like you fought, you've battled, you fought more than many people.
Yeah.
So 2 reasons. One, it's the place you belong. Like, don't question your belonging here. It's going to be hard. It's the highest level in the world for what you're trying to do. He says, and also, you don't want to have that conversation with your son in the future. Stick it out. I had 2 more weeks of this. I went upstairs with got dressed, and I remember looking at the I put on the wall, it was like a calendar, and it was 2 weeks, and it was the longest 2 weeks of my life, dude. I'm telling you right now, even to this day, there's never been a longer 2 weeks of my life. because every moment I didn't want to be there. And I remember the first, he said this, I go downstairs, I go to practice that day. I'm walking into practice. I don't want to be there. I walk to my locker. Hanging on my locker is the necklace with my son's dog tag on it. And it was one of those things where I go, if I quit, I'd never see that. And I think for me, like, I guess someone from the landscaping found it and someone asked who it was. Someone knew it was mine. They'd see me wearing it. It's like thing of like God saying like, good job. You stayed, son.
Yeah.
Like it was kind of a thing for me. And so one of those moments of like, you're going to have those windows where you don't want to be there. I was ready to be like, I'm done,
Yeah.
But the reality is like, you just have to stick it in a little bit, just to stick it out a little bit longer, do a little bit more, put your body in position. And so those 2 weeks, while I hated them, they hardened me. I oddly enough, when you're subjected to difficulty for so long, sometimes you find a way to find a peace in the pain. It sounds so weird to say, but like by the last game, bro, I was geeked up. I was out there, I was killing people, right?
Yeah.
It was like about to stick it in, and I was one of the last guys cut. Right after the last preseason game, I got cut before the season went with the last 5 or 6 guys to go. But it reassured me and it re-anchored my desire to play the game. So I needed that moment from Eric Vance.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, man. That's really cool. And so, that's a great little segue to this next thing I want to ask you about, which is this whole idea of identity, and that, which is what you're all about. So you've identified as an athlete for a long time, and then you became an NFL player, a pro athlete, and then now it's transformed into this coaching program and author and speaker. Talk a little bit about how that identity shift happened for you.
Yeah, well, it happens for all of us. It's happened to me many times. We went back one time in my life and I unpacked like 30 different interesting, critical moments that could have been a complete different expression of myself and a different trajectory for life. But for me, the first one took place when I was 15 and I wanted to be a great football player and I wasn't. And I remember I had this moment of like, I'm not the guy. I don't do that, but I want to be great. I tried this thing I wanted to be good at. I wasn't very good at it. And I gave up on it. And then there's this moment, these 2 girls are in a classroom talking to each other. And one says this statement that woke me up. And she says, the reason I'm so bad is because I'm in foster care. And for me, it's different than everybody else. Everybody else hears that and goes, so? For me, I go, ooh, she said out loud the excuse I've been telling myself as to why I shouldn't have anything great.
Wow.
And it was an amazing, difficult gift. Unsettled me. I went home, I looked myself in the pupil, said, Aunt, you're going to be great. I don't know what I was going to be great at, but I was like, I'm going to be great. I chose football. So I settled back in. I go, okay, what do great football players do? Because I didn't know the answer, right? And I looked at them as like, they were grateful and they identified as that. They would say, I'm dope, I'm great. I couldn't say that. I didn't have the words because it wasn't part of who I was. So I go, oh, if I can't say that, well, what do they do at least? Maybe I'll do what they do, right? So I looked at it. They run routes, lift weights, catch footballs. I didn't do these things, but I started. The first day, it feels weird. Like, what am I doing? I can't catch this football, I don't know how to lift weights. I'm sore. The body hurts. I'm not fast. I don't even have anybody coaching me. It's just me running around at 15 years old, And then I go to school to go lift weights, even worse. I got teammates go, hey, Trucks, bro, you got butterfingers. Why you out there catching footballs, man? Hey, you're skinny, dude. Get out the weight room, It was just like you're navigating these different windows of things. And so what happened was the first week, it's kind of uncomfortable. Second week, even more fit. You're even still sore. First month goes by. It's like, I've been doing it a month, I guess. Maybe I'll stop. I don't know, 30 days, You get 2 months and you're like, gosh, I'm still doing it. I guess a little bit easier. I get more normalized to it. It becomes a little rhythm. You still got people making fun of you, Trucks, but what are you doing? Stop. You still out here, you idiot, crazy. Third month goes by. They're like, you're really still doing this, huh, Trucks? And I'm still doing it. It becomes more of a normalcy when to get it done, right? Fourth month comes, it's like, damn, guys, Trucks is still getting after. I see you getting a little bigger. Okay. Fifth month comes. Hey, Trucks, man, can I work out with you? Yeah, let's get to work. You build. By 7th month, season comes back around. I get back in the football field. And this is the most clear moment that I look back at my life and go, that's where it happened for the first time. When I got in the football field, I had this mentality of, I have done too much work in the dark for you to take what's mine in the light. It was it. It was this thing of like, I did too much to lose in this light. And it wasn't about you. It had nothing to do with you. It had everything to do with me. I knew now I had what it took to be a great football player. It was my football, my tackle, my touchdown. I don't care what's going on. It's mine. And when I had that mentality, man, it was this thing where I pulled from a different place. If it was me and you, and you beat me on a drill, let's go back, let's get it back. Ain't no way I'm walking out here with you beating me. There's no way. And I would just keep battling. You bring more to it. And it was the first definitive identity shift I'd ever made. I'd shifted from this guy that was, and I wasn't much bigger or faster or stronger. I was just meaner. And that equated to more effort that then did make me bigger, faster, stronger, right? Because I showed up differently. But that shift in an internal sense of self created a vastly different external world for me. Most people are looking for the external world to shape the internal world. And it never works that way. You got to go do things that you hate, that are difficult. And it sounds so odd to say it that way, but you have to do something that when you've done it, you know how much you hated it, to where because you did it and you hated it, there's no way you're going to let whatever is in the opposition take from you. It will never happen. And so when I started looking at life like that, that's how it came to be. I did it in college, did it in the pros, and I had to redo it as an adult. When I got out of the NFL, I went into a dark place, man. I wasn't a good husband, wasn't a good father, wasn't a good much of anything. I didn't have that sense of I'm good at that, right? Just like I didn't have the good as a father or as a football player before, I didn't have that same feeling. And I go, I want to have it. And my mind thankfully kicked on and goes, let's go back to work, man.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? And I sought out the most difficult, uncomfortable things intentionally: relationship building, physical stuff, business stuff. I anything that made my butt pucker, I did on purpose, almost for that purpose. And fast forward a chunk of time, bro, I was a monster. And when I became that monster, things changed. I got different inside and I became a positive one. I wouldn't say I was like the same athletic monster, right? But I had this sense of self of like, I'm about to get my life back. Got my marriage back together. Amazing marriage now. I have amazing family. I get to do cool things in the world. But every moment that I look back at my life that was really, really hard, I had either intentionally or unintentionally done this same kind of thing. I did these things that pushed me into a point of going, I don't feel like this is who I am, but I did it so much where I go, it's who I am now. And you push. And the more you stack like that, the more you do things. That's why people look at individuals go, man, they have that Midas touch. Everything they touch turns to gold. They don't get a Midas touch. They just have repetitions you didn't take. Work in the dark. They did this thing that shifted who they see themselves to be. So while you approach it and go, I don't know if I can, they approach it and go, watch me work.
Yeah.
It's different.
Wow. I think this is fascinating for athletes, right? Because athletes, a lot of us are defined by our results, right? Or what other people think or say about us, or our performance, right? It's like this outward thing that we do on the field or in our sport, and then we get defined, right? But when I hear you speak about this identity shift and you speak about this dark work, which I want to unpack a little bit more, it feels like this really deep internal work to define who you are, like on your own, right? Regardless of what you do in your performance.
Yeah.
And that is deep for me, because I completely agree. And I love that. But I think it's just worth talking about more and sharing more of, because for me, it's like, I think I'm a spiritual person. And I think one of the main questions I ask myself throughout the day, and I started this a couple years ago, is who am I and what am I here for? Right. Yeah. And that is a great way for me to identify to really get my identify my own identity by answering that question on my own throughout the day, through like conversations and throughout and specifically through dark work. Right. So that's a good little segue to asking about you, what that means. What is dark work?
Dark work is how you optimize your identity for peak performance in life.
Yeah.
It's the work in the dark to win in the light. That's it. And when I say optimize your identity, it's not just to be better. It's to have what I call a dominator's identity. And all that means is to govern and to control. Can you govern and control your eating habits? Can you govern and control your training regimen? Can you govern and control your meditation routine? Right? It ain't got to be this overbearing, aggressive thing. But to dominate something means I'm in control. I govern this thing, right? And for a lot of humans, we don't have that. And we don't have that mentality when we show up to what are important, what I call defining moments. The job's on the line, the sales on the line, the mayor's on the line, the relationship with my kid is on the line. And in those moments, we don't step forward with this sense of, I got this. Like this, I'm anchored, right? And we can't all of a sudden have it in that moment because we want it. It's because of what you did well before that moment. So when we're living our lives on a day-to-day basis, we have to be presently aware of everything we're doing is leading to a moment we cannot see right now that will define us in some way. And for me, when I looked at my life, like I had this good tick of always staying in line with who I saw myself to be, and then finding a way to get uncomfortable and lean into it. So by the time I got to later on moments in my life, which needed me to have that identity, I thankfully had it because I'd done the hard things. I got into a rhythm of that's who I am and what I do. And then life becomes easier. It sounds weird, but like it's what I call effortless effort. I'm giving effort, right? I'm pushing. But for me, because it's so normalized, it's almost effortless. It's like if we go into a weight room and there's, 100 pounds on a bar. Well, for someone who is, they can't lift 100 pounds, that's incredibly impossible. I can't move that. For someone that can move maybe 100 pounds for 1 or 2 reps, like it's doable, but it's still kind of heavy. For someone that can move 500 pounds, that's a warm up, right? It's effortless effort. It's still exertion, but it's effortless. So the more you stay in the weight room when you get to that challenge of life, you're strong enough for it. So it feels like 100 pounds, and it's the most they can do for one person. That's my warm up. That's my Tuesday morning. Let's press on.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about labels when it comes to identity, right? Because all of us have a label, or an athlete, a podcaster, an author, a speaker. All these things are a label, but they don't really identify who we really, really are, right? It's just like a label,
What's funny is there's actually a statement by a guy named, I think it's Tim Murphy. He says, it's hard to see the label when you're inside the jar. And so we all have this label we've allowed people to place on us that we hold to. And what that label is what keeps people safe around us, right? They know who you are. Bob is the guy that does this and doesn't do that. So they feel safe. Whenever you start acting outside the label, good or bad, people let you know. Oh, all you eat healthy all of a sudden now, Dan? Oh, look at Dan wants to be healthy, right? Dan should be healthy. Why are you making fun of Dan, bro? Leave him alone.
Yeah.
There's that direction. But then also sometimes we don't even understand the label. We have a label that is outside that people are afraid to tell us because of the fear of confrontation. But that label is the reason we keep being stuck in a place we're at in life. So these labels are ones that get placed upon you, you live into or you don't live out of. And some of them are ones we're living with every day and have no idea they exist, but we do all have these functional labels. My goal in life is to go, hey, one, am I open to hearing about the negative label I have and possibly adjusting it? Because it allows me to keep good people in my life who tell me things that realize I respect them enough to hear them. I don't bite their head off. And then two, the thing is, can I choose my own label and live into that regardless of what somebody else says?
Right.
I go, I'm in what I call season of dad right now. That's my label. In the world of what I do, I could be on the road all the time at podcasts, meeting people, masterminds and trips and guys trips. I could do this all day. I got people that do that, right? They don't got kids. And if they do have kids, they ain't close to them like I am. Because my label, I want people to go, that's a damn good dad.
Yeah.
That guy's there. Like he's, his kids have him present. I'm the coach of teams. I train them. So I'm trying to be home as much as possible. I don't like leaving the house. Now, in my world of what I do, people go, that's weak, bro. You could be so big, you could make this, you could do this. And I go, that's great. But I know what I want my label to say. I want it to say damn good dad. And a damn good dad isn't gone half the year. So while you may think that, I'm not going to let your viewpoint affect mine. And I don't feel bad in any way about it because I know what I want mine. I chose mine. I live with mine. So regardless of what the world would say it is, this is mine. I love it. And if I'm not in your box, that's cool. It doesn't affect me any. It just affects you.
Man, this is great. Let's unpack that even more, right? Because what you're describing right now is confidence, right? You got to have the confidence to create your own label for yourself, right? Regardless of what other people are labeling you. So I heard recently on your YouTube, you kind of shared these like 3 steps for a little bit more confidence. Can you unpack that or share a little bit more of that with that here?
I have no idea what I said. Videos
well, just what comes to mind now? Like when you hear confidence, like what? Yeah.
I think the first thing is you have to accomplish something that makes you feel more powerful. I'm going to say that's definitely one of them. I think we have to really sit back and figure out like, what is something that I can go do that when I do it, I go, damn, well done. Look in the mirror. And it may be well below somebody else's thing. You can't do that. You have to be able to say, I'm going to do something that's incredibly hard for me. And you don't get confidence, you earn it. And it's earned through actions. You have to do something to earn the confidence. It doesn't just come to you because you wake up and go, I should believe in myself. Like, should you? Maybe you really shouldn't believe in yourself. I'm sorry, but let's be honest, right? Maybe you should believe in your ability to try to do something. And then when you accomplish it and you have proof, now I can believe in myself. Another thing I would say is you got to set your own scale of what success is. I find that for a lot of us, we're borrowing the world's scale of success. And then when we measure ourselves against it, we don't see success. So we feel bad and we rip ourselves of confidence away completely because we just, I didn't do what that guy did. I didn't make $100 billion. Well, that's just that person's level. Your level is your own level. Find yours, be confident in that. Because realistically, the world always has more you can get. There are billionaires that are unhappy. They got to have so much more stuff, right? So I don't think confidence is rooted to what you've done. And then I think the third thing I would say is confidence already exists in you, but the problem is you also don't see yourself in that manner. You see all the negative and don't give a chance to see the positive. There's a study done by Dove, and Dove had these women come into a room, pairs. One person would describe themselves to a sketch artist. Other person would describe their friend to the same sketch artist. They'd leave the room, they do it separately, they come back. And what they would do is they would turn a picture around and they would show both women the picture. And the picture where the person described themselves was always hideous, marks and blemishes and pimples. The person who was describing the other human was always this beautiful image.
Wow.
And it was transparently clear that we're really good at seeing our flaws and we don't always see our positives. And so we have in our lives stripped ourselves of the confidence just because of the perspective that we have on ourselves. So they may go like, oh, I didn't do this and this, but like, no, but you graduated from that. You got that degree. You got past that. You got out of that relationship. You solved that issue. You made that money. You got yourself healthier. Whatever it is, you did this thing. But we look at ourselves and go, but I didn't do this. Yeah. And it takes us down a few notches. So off the top of my head, that's what I would frame as some of the areas for confidence.
That's great. That's great. Now, these next two things I'd love to hear your perspective on, because these are two things that I think are holding a lot of people back, including me. And I've become aware of them more recently. Mm-hmm. And the two things are self-doubt and FOPO. FOPO being fear of other people's opinions, which is big right now, I think, on the IG world, the social media world. But speak on those things, self-doubt and FOPO, and how do we overcome those things?
Yeah. Well, I think if you think about it, they're tied together. The self-doubt is usually tied to, if I don't do this, what happens? How will people see me? Right. Now, there's things I doubt I can do. I doubt I'm going to be able to have a Grammy Award-winning, song this week. I doubt I can do that, right? I doubt that I'm going to learn to fly a plane tomorrow. That's realistic doubts, right? But I, as a human, do not doubt that I have the capabilities to learn anything. That's it. And I think the learning is the difference, because most people step into something and go, they compare themselves to the outcome, not the effort. Yeah. So when you have this doubt, it's not, I don't think we need to start it, because football for me, I started horribly. I learned this lesson so long ago, and I'm thankful I did. I was trash at the game of football. And then all of a sudden, the best in the team, the best in the area, I'm getting college scholarship offers. I play in the NFL. That doesn't equate. And you go, well, how did it happen? Well, I got to the point of being good at doing the thing, just giving the effort towards it. I had no fear of learning and applying and stumbling and applying. And I realized that I was never comparing myself to the outcome. I was comparing myself to, did I give that good effort today? Because when I did give the good effort, I went to bed feeling good. And I got up day by day, I stacked chips. And I was amazing at this thing, right? So I think a lot of it is we have this doubt that comes from a comparison to an end place that we shouldn't be in the first place. Yeah. You shouldn't be there. All you got to do is compare yourself to, did you give the effort that day? And then I think the other people's opinions, a couple of things come to mind. One is you have to realize that the opinions that you want are the ones you respect. And some of them will not always be good. And that's a good thing. Because if I have people in my life who are willing to tell me shit that I don't want to hear for my betterment, I need them around. And I need to not bite their head off when they tell me this. So interestingly, when I get the opinion from someone I respect, I'm going to open my mind to it. And I'm going to hear what they have to say. And I will say this, though. Just because you get that person's opinion you respect doesn't mean you have to listen to it. It's just their opinion. My best friend and my wife, at one point in time, both told me, dude, chalk up your gym business. It's not going to work. And I kept doing it. Eventually sold it. I go, I want to become a speaker. My best friend goes, that's not a real job. You don't just speak for a living, bro. You're tripping. I go, no, somebody does it. It ain't going to be you. My fiance, or sorry, wife at the same time goes, don't do it. It's not a real job. I could make 7 figures a year speaking and coaching by itself, right? And so the idea is like, this is a world that you have to control.
Yeah.
And so the opinions of the people I love the most at certain times didn't matter. I had to change their opinion by doing what needed to be done to prove to them they were wrong. And it came from actions and efforts. Again, I fell in love with the efforts of the day. So I didn't have this self-doubt. Like, it wasn't even that I had full confidence I would make it work. I just knew that the only way to make it work was to do something every day in the direction of it. And so I had this thing where I'm moving, but I've never been fearful of the judgment of who I am, because I've realized that every time I tried something new, there was always someone who goes, it's not going to work out. You can't do that. It's not for you. And genuinely, it wasn't even always out of malice. It wasn't always some guy in a corner saying, you suck, bro. You ain't going to be nothing, right? It wasn't always that. It was sometimes protecting my emotions. Like, Anthony, just get a real job. That's not a real job. You know, you got great skills. You can make 6 figures. You can get a great retirement. Like, that statement, that's not good for me. You know, like, as much as that sounds good, it's good for some, wasn't good for me. I'd be a horrible employee. Like, I would be telling the boss he's doing it wrong every day, and I would outwork the boss and make the boss look bad. He'd fire me because I made him look bad. That's just the way that I function. And so the opinions of people, I don't think play a role, because I also do this. I extrapolate myself out to my 80s, and I look at people who are 80, 70, 89 years old. I go, what do they care about? They don't give a shit about nobody. By that time, they're doing their own thing. They'll fart in public. They're saying what they want to say. And I go, they know something that we need to know earlier in life, which is none of you some bees matter. Yeah, you do, right? But your opinion of me and what it is, I'm not going to know you in 20 years, possibly, right? And if I do, then it's hopefully in a better way. But like, I'm not worried about what you think of me. Like, as long as, for me, I have a marriage where I got divorced and remarried my ex-wife. I've been on amazing podcasts that have shown this out to the world, and the comments are crazy. Some of them go like, oh, as soon as I heard him say he took back his ex-wife, like I was done. And I go, gosh, it sucks that this, because that could have been one that would eat somebody up. And I go, that sucks for this person, because he's never going to fully understand what it takes to make his marriage great when it comes falling apart, because they always do. And I said that, yeah, in my head, I could easily frame it as like, gosh, maybe I shouldn't have and feel bad. And I go, I am so confident in what I did, and I know how happy and peaceful I am, that as opposed to feeling bad about that guy's opinion, I go, you're the idiot. You know, like, you could, when you get to a certain point, you've built something, you look future wise. And I go, what I wanted was my family to be together, same husband, same wife, of my own kids. And I knew that, like, it was to be a stock market thing. We're down here right now. I want to be up here. That's going to go up and down a lot on the journey up. There's going to be good and bad and good and bad. And I go, if I know I want this, bro, I'm investing. I'm going to invest and ride this stock to the end. And I didn't care what you thought about it. It doesn't matter to me. And so now I have an incredibly peaceful house. I have a loving marriage, trust, support, everything you can imagine, man. It's creepy how cool my life is. I get to now show up in the world and do the best I can to give that back to other people.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Well, since you mentioned it, I was going to ask you about the trolling and the negative comments. We're living in an age now, especially as a content creator, right? And I feel like a lot of people are I'd say most people are content creators. If you're on Instagram and Facebook, you're a content creator, right? But for podcasters, right? Like, we do experience some negativity sometimes.
Always do.
Yeah, right. How do you deal with that? I know you just mentioned it, but like, make it relatable for. Yeah, make it relatable for.
I'm a real ass human, man. I will give you some feedback. Like, I'll take it. So I do a podcast, and so I don't prepare for the podcast like most people do. I like to show up and just talk. I find that it's more genuine. And 9 times out of 10, it's great. There's that 10th time where me and this person, we can't figure out the groove, you know? And people come on and go, this podcaster is horrible. Maybe you should respect your guests enough to actually do some more research on whatever it is. And I go, all right, I can do that. And I just leave it alone. And, you know, but I go back and I go, first of all, I don't know you. You don't know me. I don't know them before they get in the podcast, you know, and I'll let people know. I go, my goal is to have a real conversation, not a prep one that I know all the things beforehand. So you're watching a genuine conversation in real time. 9 times out of 10 in humanity, we have great conversations, but every one of us has had a situation where I can't wait to get out of the conversation, right? They're not always gold, but I say, I appreciate the feedback. Lets me know how the world sees it. And I do. I'll tell you,
that's cool.
I had a guy, I do this thing it's a program we do called Speak to Freedom. And a whole business model on how you build a speaking business. And I coach it. I teach it. There's 90-something people in there. I love coaching the people I get to coach. And I had some guy go on, was like a comment in one of our ads recently. He goes, "Hey, don't be misconstrued by the world out there. The only reason this guy's successful as a speaker is because he played in the NFL. And if you didn't play in the NFL, what I don't know why he thinks anybody can something crazy." And in my head, I go, "This son of I could have deleted it. I should have deleted it probably." So I decided to get on my horse, bro, and write back and go, "First of all, I don't know you. You don't know me. The NFL has nothing to do with why I'm successful." I said, "A lot of people are great in a lot of different worlds. Mine just happen to be sports. That does not mean I can speak. And you shouldn't compare yourself to everybody else and look for reasons to do poorly. In fact, you as this thing," I said, "people, you shouldn't listen to somebody who doesn't believe in themselves so much that this comparison scares them enough to make a comment on an ad."
Yeah.
Like I put it out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he wrote back, "Well, I wasn't saying that, but you'd be wrong to say the NFL isn't a loved brand." I go, "You name me 5 other NFL speakers that are making $25,000 per keynote, and I will succeed this conversation." And didn't even acknowledge it. You said something else in my head. I go, "These people are just idiots." Like, and what pissed me off the most, it's not even about me. Like you could say whatever you want to me. It's just the nature of the beast. It's just people are going to talk crap. That's what they do. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I go, "Don't rob somebody else of their dream because you don't see it in yourself. Just because you don't think that you can be successful because you didn't play in the NFL doesn't mean the guy that built this amazing company serving kittens can't. I didn't serve kittens. I can say the same thing. Only reason this guy's good at talking to animals is because he served a bunch of animals." Like, well, of course. But the idea is that you can't diminish the dream for somebody else because you diminished it in your own heart. It's like you get that. But what I do is I don't let you get away with it. I am very good with words, and I will cut your ass in a whole bunch of different ways without even cussing at you, to where you have to process the thought and figure a response. And then eventually I just say some off the wall stuff. Like I'll just, people hate this when I go, "I think it's time for you to take a nap. It's past your bedtime." I just leave it at that. And people go, "What does that mean?" And it doesn't mean anything. It just means the most off the wall thing that people go, they can't place it. They get frustrated. And I don't respond. I don't tell them what it means. It means nothing, but it throws them so far. They're like, "I got to be an idiot. I'm not an idiot." And they get stuck in their own echo chamber of their mind. But that's kind of like my enders. As I go like, "You know what? It's past your bedtime. It's time to take a nap, go to bed." Like I'll just put stuff like that out there and people get pissed. But I don't let people walk away and stomp all over the internet like childs and giving tantrums.
Well, I welcome comments. I welcome engagement. I want to hear from you guys. If you guys are taking away something from this episode, put it in the comments. Let me know. Because I think we're living in an age where a lot of people are hiding behind their comments, and I don't think we should hide. I think we should create discussion. That's what I'm all about. So yeah, but sometimes it is tough. It's like, and I actually offer compassion for people who troll, because I don't think trolling is the way to go. I think it's like contribute, right? Contribute to the conversation.
Yeah. And the thing is, some of the comments are true. And if they're true, I'll tell them I'm wrong. I'll do that for sure. I'm not about to just got to argue for no reason. It's not an ego thing. But you're not going to come out here and just do something off the wall you're wrong about and then be getting away with it.
Yeah.
I don't think people should do that. But yeah, there are people that 100% troll, and there's some people that have viable, genuine responses, and I'll take that. I will take the hit because I also want people to know that I'm not perfect. I don't see myself as perfect, but I see myself as desiring to get better, which most people don't, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I agree. And likewise. And, let's actually, I just made a comment on your IG the other day because I asked you about the difference. And I'm going to ask you about it right now, actually. What's the difference between self-awareness and self-realization?
Oh, you were the one that asked that.
That was me.
I had no idea. See, I told you I do.
Yeah, you did. You replied.
I believe my response to you was, I can be aware. I can be aware there's a lot of problems in my life, but I may not realize that they're me. Right. So I could be aware of a situation 100%, but not realize that the reason people are laughing is like I got toilet paper hand on my butt. Like there may be something there. But so we can have this awareness of a situation and be in it, but the self-realization is different. It's an understanding of yourself in the situation, I feel. And so the realization for me was like, I was the common denominator in all of my problems. I was aware that I was broke. I had self-awareness saying, I've got no money. My marriage isn't here. I'm not in good shape. I was self-aware of the situation, but I didn't have a self-realization of like how I was in tune with all of that, how I was a person either allowed these problems or created these problems, right? That realization is this aha moment of like, oh, damn. And then have a choice of, do I do something or not do something? And that's another, step in the direction. But I feel like awareness is like you can be fully aware of the situation, but not realize that it's you.
Mm. And carry that a little further
Huh?
when I ask you about this next thing, which is I've heard you speak about the tree versus the fruit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. I did that on accident, by the way, and it made it into my book. So I don't know how. So I have this brain where I try to teach things in metaphors and I
Mm-hmm.
don't prepare the metaphors. I just start talking and it comes out. And it's the more I've done it, the better I've gotten at it. But at one point in a podcast a few years back, I was trying to get people to get the idea of identity. And like people were always like football and I was like, it's a fruit of your labor. And I was like, fruit of your labor. It's kind of like this, like fruit on a tree, right? Because there's fruits on a tree. And so essentially, like you're the fruit. And when the fruit falls off the tree, like football fell off the tree, I lost that. You leave the military, it's a fruit falling off the tree because you're the fruit. And this fruit rolls around on the ground and it can last for a little bit. You can feel good for a little bit. Chest can be up high, but eventually that fruit rots. And when it feels rotten, you feel rotten because you
Yeah.
can't do that anymore. And
Yeah.
that's how I felt with football. What happens if you're only focused on the fruit, you lose sight of the truth. The truth is you've never been the fruit. You've always been the tree. And when you were so focused on that fruit, you lost sight of the tree and the rest of the fruit. You didn't water it, didn't give it sun, didn't prune the branches. And so all the rest of your fruit died. So when I was focused on football and it disappeared, well, it makes sense that I was so focused on that, my marriage fruit fell apart, parenting fruit fell apart, fitness fruit fell apart, right? They all died because the tree was dying. And what I did is go, oh, I'm not the fruit, I'm the tree, and the tree produced the fruit. Well, if I go back and take care of the tree, I can produce sweeter and more abundant fruit. And that's what I did in life. So, like, there was an awareness of the fruit off the tree, but a lack of realization that I was the tree.
Mm.
And once I saw that, I could make changes and put myself in better soil and prune the branches of the people that didn't belong around, right? So the fruit that I was creating was better fruit like it is now. That's kind of how I look at those little connections.
Really like that. I really like that. And then, I know we're coming up on time here, but the last thing I want to ask you about is carry that tree metaphor to this idea of manifesting, right? Because I think most of us want to manifest some great fruit, right? Whether
Yeah.
it's in finances or relationships or, athletics, whatever it may be, right? We want to manifest the great fruit, right?
Yeah.
But
Manifest
like
the world. Yeah.
it's kind of a keyword lately, manifest, right? But
If I thinks about it, man, I don't know, man.
well, yeah, talk about it. Yeah, what does that mean?
Part of me, I get the concept. I don't know if I believe in it
Okay,
thoroughly. Because manifestation, when you think of the words like to make it just come to be.
right.
And I don't think anything just comes to be, man. I think you intentionally create something. Nobody accidentally stumbles into $1 million, right? You do stuff for it. Now you can say manifest, but I think it's the way that a weak mind, as Messiah is real, a weak mind makes sense of a person who gritted it out to get the success,
Interesting.
right? And then people get it and they go, I manifested this. Yeah, you could say it now because you've normalized the amount of hard work it was. But when you were first building that, that was a manifestation. That was work. That was work on yourself. That was work. Like, so I can say I manifested my marriage back together after 3 years. Do you know what I had to do to manifest that, dude?
Hmm.
What I do it myself, what I had to apologize for, what I had to work on for me, the conversation I had to have, the apologies I had to make, the things that had cut off from my life, the missing out, the sacrifice. Like that wasn't manifestation. That was work. But then when you get to it, and now you've been doing it for a year and a half and it feels much smoother, it's like, oh yeah, I feel good. Man, I manifested that. Like, no, I worked for that, and so I get that, but I think there's this desire to tap into the part of the mind that wants ease, because we do as humans, we want this ease. That's why we have DoorDash and click a button and someone ties your shoe, right? All this stuff is there. And I think the idea of manifestation feels like an easier, lighter work. I don't
Okay.
think I don't know the last time I saw LeBron James or Michael Jordan or Tom Brady, Serena Williams go like, I manifested this championship. That's not how it worked. And so if you look at that simple logic, dude, like, yes, things can come to pass in our life, because I think what it really turns into is we start getting to this point of being so locked in on it at a subconscious level that we're moving towards it in every action without even
Right.
consciously paying attention to it anymore. Like if I'm a person who wants to get in great shape, I stop even thinking about the fact that I want this food. I'm starting to enjoy the healthy food. I don't care about the fatty food anymore, right? And so it makes it easier. You flow into it. Now it becomes a rhythmic flow to what you're doing and it becomes an effortless effort. But I don't think it's like this manifestation in the sense of like I sat there one day and I thought about it, and then 6 years later, look, here it is. If I go in those 6 years, a lot of tears, a lot of money lost, time lost, sacrifice, arguments, cutting people off. Oh, there's some interesting stuff in there, but I don't know if we'd call every bit of that manifestation.
No, I mean, I really appreciate that perspective. What I would say to that is, I think it's great to have a visual of where you want to go.
Hell
Right.
yeah,
And then you can kind of work backwards, and I think that's part of manifestation. And I definitely think that's a huge part of success, because if you don't have that, then you're kind of a boat without a rudder. You got to have a direction, right?
Oh, that's I'm not taking that at all away from it. In fact, I think your brain needs to attach to it, because we've all like thought about like the car you want, the house you want.
Right.
You attach to that thing at like a palpable. When I was a kid, I wanted these rollerblades. They were like, what were they? They were like Rosy Streets or something. And I saw a picture in the newspaper. I want these rollerblades. I could picture myself wearing them. I could see other kids wearing them, the smell of them. I go to the store and smell the box, like I saw this, and so my brain, it wanted it. And now everything that I was doing, conscious and subconscious, was working towards that.
Yeah.
Still work, right?
Right.
I ended up getting them. I was rollerblading, my homies doing my thing, right? But it was a paper route every day, getting up and going doing the thing and earning the money for it. And there's work involved, but I think it feels lighter to say manifestation. But you have to have those same traits. You've got to be locked in on it.
Yeah, and I think that's a big part of identity shifting as well. When I really think about that phrase that you're all about, right? I think it's like, take being an NFL player, for example, right? I want to be an NFL player. Well, I think, a lot of inspired athletes can take that goal and that identity as a goal and work backwards and do the work. What I'm trying to put forth is like to say that can be relatable to anyone, no matter what you're trying to accomplish, right? You see the fruits over there. You can identify that that's where you want to go, and then work 100%. Backwards, and then go through the tree trimming and get, take care of that tree.
I agree. You have to. That's literally how it has to be. Something has to guide your direction. So I agree there. Yeah.
Man, Anthony, dude, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you. I want you to take a minute or so and just promote all your stuff, man. Books, podcasts, all that stuff.
I don't need a minute. Just go to @AnthonyTrucks on Instagram. It's everything you may want to find will be there if you want to find it.
Love it, man. I love it. This has been awesome. I really appreciate you. For the fans and the audience, thanks for being with us this whole time. Please go check out Anthony's stuff. And Anthony, don't go anywhere. Everyone else, peace and blessings, y'all. Stay inspired.